welcome to Mike Drops the Mic. I'm Mike Lyman. Today it is Peak Degens Playoff Prediction Volume 2. This time, same as last week, I am joined with my good friends Brandon Lesh and Anthony DeTullio. We have a lot to talk about. Some things over this past weekend went well, and some things did not go well. Brandon's not wearing a Browns jersey, and I'm not wearing a Steelers jersey, which says something about our team's performances. Anthony has a Browns jersey on today, but I'm sure he'll tell us why in a little bit. But first off, Brandon, how you doing today, man?
I'm good, Mike. I'm pumped for these games this weekend. Going to be a good weekend. Sad the season's coming to an end, but it is what it is. Excited to get some bets rolling and make some money this weekend.
Anthony, you got a positive message for us here before we get into these games?
Ooh, time to make some money this week. That's my positive message.
Yeah. Well, there's money, a little bit of money made last week, but there was also some money lost next week. So as long as we're in the plus and we're not in the negative, we're going to keep this thing rolling.
And I'd like to throw in too before we get started.
Yes, sir.
We went 0 for 1 last week on the bank builder between all of our picks. Anthony was the sole winner. He won his CD prop. Me and Mike lost our props.
Yep.
But I don't want that to deter anyone at home or the two people staring at me in my phone. We're doing it again later today. So I don't know if you guys came prepared, but throughout this time, think what you want to do for these next 4 games, because we're not just taking an L and walking home. That's not the kind of people we are.
Brandon, you see this? My chin's up. My chin's
That's
up.
what I'm saying.
I'm not down like this. I'm not sad about it. My chin is up. I'm ready to rock.
Hey, there's a reason that the windshield's larger than the rear view mirror, because we're always looking forward. We're always looking forward.
Well, before we look forward, unfortunately, we do have to look backwards. Before you start your car and before you get on the road, you got to back up a little bit. And one of the things we got to do is we got to back up and look at the Browns and the Texans matchup. I thought the Browns were going to win. I was wrong. I'd like to talk with you, Brandon. Texans took the win on that one, 45-14. Can't be happy about it, man. I'm sorry it happened. From a Steelers fan, I would have liked to see the Browns go on a little bit of a run, but that's just the way it went. Tell me, what are your initial thoughts of the game and how you doing as a Browns fan this week?
Yeah, when we were watching this game, I was thinking about, in the fourth quarter when we were down, I was thinking about how I was going to need to talk about this loss and face it. So, I'm going to do that. Hold on one second. Something's flying around my room. I'll be right back.
Oh boy. Here we go.
Oh, this is gonna be.
Sorry. I just, I had to break out my emergency clown nose, as this plastic says. It was a tough week. It was a very tough week for the Cleveland Browns. I think ultimately at the end of the day, the injuries just caught up to us, We didn't look fresh. As Kevin Stefanski says, we picked a bad day to have a bad day. And it's very true. It sucks because I was so dead set on this team. I was so dead set on this, especially this Texans win. I was bankrolling it. I threw 10 units on it. Those units are out the door. It's tough. I do feel like a clown. I look like it with the nose. But this team will bounce back. This Browns team will bounce back. At the end of the day, we were missing our starting quarterback. We were missing our 2 starting tackles. We were missing our starting running back. We had some injuries on defense. Miles is beat up. Our safety, Grant Telpit, who's been playing great, was out. I was hoping he would have came back in, but didn't come back in. At the end of the day, the Texans just outplayed us. C.J. Stroud was crazy, dotting them up. Joe Flacco was making careless throws, and by no means am I blaming this loss on Flacco. It's not his fault. It was a team loss at the end of the day, and it's tough. But for the Browns fans at home and for myself, this team will come back, and I'm hoping it's the last time I have to put this nose on.
I hope it's the last time too, but I'm not so sure. We will see. We'll get into the roster moves and stuff like that in the postseason, because I don't think, or after the postseason, I don't think you're going to see January Joe back in Cleveland, but you never know. It was a good run while it lasted. Anthony, what are your thoughts on this Browns performance against the Texans?
Oh, Mike, it was a tough one to watch. They started off really well. They went down. Browns scored first. I think everybody in Cleveland was hype about that, but then the wheels fell off. The Texans offense started rolling, and there was no stopping it. Even their defense. I mean, something we didn't see in their previous matchup. You know, they brought the pressure. Joe Flacco wasn't able to perform nearly as well as he was in all the games before, and the Texans ran away with it. So I agree with Brandon. I think next season is going to be a huge bounce back for them. A lot of pieces started clicking here at the end of this season. Hopefully, as much as I hate to say it, hopefully they can get Deshaun Watson back and he can lead that offense and do something really special next year.
Anthony, I want to take it right back to you. The next game we had Saturday night, the Chiefs playing the Miami Dolphins absolutely blew the Dolphins out 26-7. It was so cold. We saw Patrick Mahomes' helmet crack. That's not a game where the Miami Dolphins playing in warm Miami down here in South Florida go up to Arrowhead Stadium and get that win. So we were right about that. I think we all had the Chiefs beating the Dolphins there. What do you think about that game? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it was like I said last week. I mean, the Chiefs are built for the playoffs. They always come together. Dolphins, not so much. I mean, Tua, horrendous game through and through. I mean, what was it? He only had 100 passing yards up until like start of the fourth quarter or something like that. Chiefs seemed to put it together a little bit better, but defensive side of the ball, it was just a rough game. I mean, Pat Mahomes still, I think, is arguably the best quarterback in the league, and I think he's going to take this ragtag Chiefs team pretty far in the playoffs here.
Last week I mentioned that I thought Tyreek Hill would have a big revenge game against the Chiefs. He did get his touchdown, but he only had 62 yards, which I was surprised about. 5 receptions, 62 yards, but he did get that touchdown. Brandon, did you expect more from Tyreek Hill and the Dolphins, or do you think they were just completely outmatched in the snow playing at Arrowhead Stadium?
Yeah, I think it was just too much for them. That's not their home field. That's not their way of playing. And at the end of the day, a lot of people forget too, the Dolphins are pretty banged up themselves. They're not very healthy. Their defense has taken some blows. Bradley Chubb out for the year. They didn't look great, to say the least. Kansas City definitely looked like they were in their element. No surprise, like you said, Mike. We all picked Kansas City to take this game. It's tough, my second favorite team's the Dolphins. But it was just too much for him, all things considered. Injuries catching up, people not 100% healthy and still playing, the weather. It just seemed to be too much, and that's Kansas City's ball game. If you're not comfortable in a game, they're going to make you pay for it for sure.
And being too much to handle, we have to pivot right back into the Packers and the Cowboys. Where did this Packers offense come from? 48 points against the Cowboys in Dallas. That's absolutely insane. 48-32. Cowboys losing to the Packers. Brandon, what do you think about that game?
I think we're smoking that Cowboys pack tonight. Them guys did not come ready to play. And you know what? I know last week I said I was taking Dallas at home. Dallas just cannot win big football games. They can't do it. Their playoff wins are atrocious. They haven't had a big game in however long I can remember. And if they had a big game, they haven't won anything. It's not memorable. It seems like every year this team is just stacked, and the regular season comes and Dak balls out, throwing 4 touchdowns, CeeDee Lamb's balling out, Tony Pollard, all of these things, their defense, Micah Parsons. And then when the games that matter, they just don't show up. So Dallas has to prove something to me going on in the future. No matter what their home record was, their stats at home, all of that doesn't matter. And to take it back to the Browns game, Browns had arguably the best defense in the NFL. We were great, and then we turn around and Houston scores 41 on us or whatever the case may be. So these big games really matter in that sense. And once you get to these big games, you punch that second ticket to the second season. The games prior mean nothing, and they're just regular season stats. And I think me personally, I got caught up with that in Dallas. They just did not look like they didn't look like they had effort. They didn't look like they wanted it as bad as the Packers did.
Yeah, I had the Cowboys winning that game as well, so I took a loss on that one. Browns, I don't want to go too much back into that, but yeah, they're playing on the road. I think they were giving up 30 points. That defense there is completely different away versus home. Field advantage there. Anthony, you had CeeDee Lamb in your bet. He went for 110 yards on 9 receptions. Dak threw for 403 yards, 3 touchdowns, but 2 costly interceptions. He threw the ball 60 times in that game because they were so far behind. Still couldn't catch up. Like I said, Packers win 48-32. Anthony, do you think the Cowboys are the frauds of the NFL?
Of the NFL, no, I don't believe that's the case. But of the NFC, maybe. They came into that game, and it's a home game. You got to come out guns blazing, and they look like they didn't want to be there. I can't remember what the biggest deficit was. I think it was like 28-0. Packers had just 4 straight scoring drives. I turned the game off for a little bit. I'm gonna be honest. I was upset. They weren't playing their football that they were there at the end of the season, and it was so disappointing. And then they're down, and then things start clicking, and it was ridiculous to see. I did turn it back on, and I saw CeeDee Lamb get his yards, but at that point it's too late. You dug yourself too deep of a hole, and there was no coming back from it. Jordan Love and that Packers offense, I think, is legit. So we'll just have to see how far they can get into the playoffs here.
Yeah, and we will address that later, our Packers predictions. First, though, I want to talk about my favorite game from the weekend. The Lions at home beating the Rams 24-23, arguably the biggest win in Detroit history, beating Jared Goff, beating Matthew Stafford. Stafford got absolutely bruised and battled all day, but the Lions came out on top 24-23. I love that for Dan Campbell and the boys. Now the Steelers are out. The Lions might have to be my playoff team. We will see. But Anthony, what do you think about that game?
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't watch too much of it. I was a little bit busy. But I am a Lions fan. Not too big on the Rams. I hated watching watching them go to the Super Bowl a couple years back and taking that one. But Matt Stafford, his return to the Lions, he got booed, which was quite disappointing after everything he did for that city. But yeah, I'm excited to see the Lions go on. That's huge. I'm a big Sun God, big Sam Laporta fan. So we'll see this next week.
Yeah, and unlike you, I do like the Rams. I do like Stafford. I love Puka Nacua. I love Cooper Kupp. I love that offense and that defense. I will say though that yeah, we'll see what happens with these Lions. Brandon, what do you think? Are you disappointed that the Rams lost to the Lions, or are you glad to see Lions get their win at home and advance to the next round?
Yeah, no, I was always big on the Lions. Threw in a couple units on the Lions money line there, so I was glad to see them win. But how about Puka Nacua, man? Unbelievable. That guy had an unbelievable rookie season. Probably won some people their fantasy leagues alone, and he was maybe even a waiver wire ad. It's yeah, right. He is unbelievable. So hats off to the Rams. I mean, I know my buddy was real big on the Rams, but at the end of the day, Detroit just wants it. Dan Campbell is, if he's not the coach of the year, it's going to be Kevin Stefanski, vice versa. But what Dan Campbell has done in Detroit is unbelievable. They still got robbed over the Cowboys. Can't believe that, but I'm not going to let it go. The Lions, they're making some noise. I know it's a short margin win there, but they played well. They played very well, and so did the Rams. I think that was one of the best games this past weekend, back and forth action wise. I'm glad to see the Lions pull out the W.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I was pointing to my fantasy football trophy I got for winning our league. And yeah, a big part of that is because picking up Puka Nakua. Uh, if CJ Stroud's not playing this season, Puka Nakua's got to be up there for Rookie of the Year because my guy, as a rookie, in this playoff game in Detroit, 9 receptions, 181 yards, and a touchdown. That's, I mean, this guy coming out of nowhere, you know what I mean? Coming in, nobody had them in their fantasy drafts. I forget where he was a late round pick, I believe, too. And yeah, absolutely balled out this season for the Rams. Unfortunately, the next game talk about Steelers traveling to Buffalo. The game was postponed today, but that didn't stop the Bills from beating up on the Steelers 31-17. I'll start off by saying that I think it was a good effort by the team overall. I think Mason Rudolph, even though he threw that interception at the goal line, he came back through 2 touchdowns. The Steelers were down 21-0 at one point. To be able to rally the team and get them back to within make it a 7-point game, that's what you got to do. Unfortunately, the Steelers' banged up defense could not stop Josh Allen. He threw a couple touchdowns there early. I said beforehand Dalton Kincaid was going to have a big game, and he did. Got a touchdown and his yards. Josh Allen ran, and he ran for that 54-yard touchdown against the Steelers. When you don't have TJ Watt, you're on your 4th string middle linebacker. You're picking guys up off the couch and Miles Jack to come in and try to be your starting middle linebacker. That's not going to get the job done. So it sucks. Mason Rudolph, all things considered, I think he played well. I think the problem with the game was that if the Steelers were going to win this, and I said this last week, the Steelers had to keep it close from the beginning, and they had to be able to run the ball and control the clock. Najee did not run the ball well. He ran for 3.2 yards per carry. I think he totaled 37 yards or something like that. And the reason why is because they had to play from behind and they had to throw the ball. So unfortunately, when you can't control the clock, you can't win the game. Brandon, what do you think about the showing of the Pittsburgh Steelers playing the Buffalo Bills this past weekend?
Yeah, it's the Steelers, in my opinion, they should be happy that they made it to the playoffs, all things considered, with Matt Canada. I don't think anybody in their right mind came into that game thinking the Steelers were going to win. A lot of people didn't even think it would be close. I just think the Bills are they're in a league of their own right now. The way that Josh Allen's playing, the guy's unstoppable. And Pittsburgh's going to have a big decision coming up next year. Mason Rudolph's been the starter these last couple games. They keep with Rudolph, or do they start Pickett? It's a big decision they got to make for their next season.
And Mike Tomlin in a press conference today did confirm that although Mason Rudolph is a free agent, the Pittsburgh Steelers would love to see him back in the black and gold. And Kenny Pickett would be quarterback 1, but it would be a competition to see who secures that spot. So again, that's something else, another story that we'll look at in the offseason. Anthony, briefly, what do you think about the Steelers? Did you think they do better? Do you think they do worse? Or how do you think their performance was against the Bills?
No, I mean, I think that's pretty on par with how I was expecting it to go. And I think you hit the nail on the head. The defense was banged up. You're down so many starters, down to your 4th string linebackers, like you were saying. And especially TJ Watt. That defense hurts without him bringing the pressure, bringing the fire. After they were down, it was a real struggle to get anything going for them. The offense did have some life, but like you said, Josh Allen, just unstoppable. So it's tough whenever you're down all those players. But I'm looking forward to next season. I think a lot of things started clicking here near the end of this regular season for them. So I'm excited to see what they put together in the offseason to make another run.
Over these past few seasons, the Steelers are now 1-11 when TJ Watt is not on the field. That tells you the kind of player that he is. When he's playing, I think the Steelers are averaging 3.5 sacks a game. When he's not playing, they're averaging 1.5. So that tells you right there the kind of player that he was, and we missed him. finally wrapping up the weekend. We had the Buccaneers beating the hell out of the Philadelphia Eagles, just like Brandon and I said they would. Brandon, what do you think of Baker's performance and the Bucks? Are the Bucks for real in this postseason?
How about it, Eagles fans? How about it? God, I love to see the Eagles lose. I really do, man. Oh, cry, Eagles, cry. That's what I'm saying. Oh, I loved every second of that game. Very sad that Jason Kelsey's out. That was his last game. It's a shame that that Hall of Fame career is going to all be bottled up into that game. But the Eagles just did not look ready. I don't know what happened with them. I know Jalen Hurts is dealing with a thumb a little bit, might have something to do with it. But the Eagles just look, they did not look like a complete football team. No A.J. Brown. But all of that aside, Baker Mayfield impressed the hell out of me. And as I'm not even really surprised, but the way that he's playing right now is almost like it's almost like watching your ex go off and do better as a Cleveland fan. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like we brought in a guy with some allegations, paid him 200 million guaranteed, and you know we had the beautiful girl with us the entire time that knew us since kindergarten and never cheated on us, and we just decided to go to Miami for a weekend and have some fun. You know, it's tough as a Browns fan. I know we're talking about the Bucks game, but it's tough to think about this game and not see the presence that Baker Mayfield had on this team. I mean, the guy's celebrating with everyone. He's walking out of the locker room smelling ammonia inhalants. I mean, the guy looked locked in from the start of the game. The one pass I'm thinking of to Chris Godwin, I saw a breakdown of it where Baker it was an NFL. I don't know if it was NFL films, but you could hear the audio on the field. And Baker saw the formation and he goes, "Chris, be ready." He said it audibly. You heard it in the video. And you see him back up, throws an absolute dot, but great play on the ball by Chris Godwin to stop real quick and come back towards that ball. But just to deliver that ball in that formation when he had a guy right into his face, I mean, we really, we really did not do our best. It's too early to say, but in my opinion, I would have loved to see Baker on the Browns again. I think this game would have been different if he was our starting quarterback. And all praise to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They went in and they put in work. So good for Baker, good for the Bucks.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Baker's turned into, he's not Johnny Manziel 2.0. Baker's the real deal. One of the reasons you love Baker is because he's a gritty guy. He has fun. They call a timeout during the game, and he's out on the sideline getting a sip of water, and he's spraying his coaches with water. He doesn't care. He's having a good time out there. He's shooting water out of the water bottle. He's smelling salts and walking out of the locker room onto the field. Man's fired up. He's ready to go. Baker's the real deal, and I absolutely love this for him. Anthony, what'd you think of the game? Do you think the Eagles had any chance at all, or was it Baker from the moment he started smelling salts on the way out to the field to the end of the game? Do you think the Eagles had any chance or no?
Yeah. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't realize how banged up the Eagles were. I had completely forgotten about Jalen Hurts' hand injury, the whole thing with AJ Brown. I didn't think they were gonna implode this early. I'm gonna be honest. I thought they would get this game, and maybe it'll happen next week. But yeah, that team, that implosion happened wild card weekend, which is pretty crazy after the start to the season they had. I think you guys nailed it. I love seeing Baker out there. I love the energy he brings to the Bucks and the game overall. You hear nothing but great things about Baker from the locker room. So I'm happy to see him succeed for sure. Coming from someone who lives here in Cleveland, has been supporting the Browns. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, Brandon, I want to turn it over to you. I want you to tell me, what did you say at the beginning of the podcast about looking forward in our vehicle? What are we about to do now looking at these future games coming up this next weekend? What is it
We're
again?
gonna play. We're gonna play some bets. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna tell you all the winners. We're gonna tell you some player props. I got some scores written down. We might even do that. I don't know. It's kind of crazy. I've had a few land sharks. I'm down to get a little wild. So let's see what we can do here. Let's start it up.
All right, well then I'm coming right back to you. We're starting it up. The Texans beat the Browns, but now the Texans have the tall task of traveling to Baltimore. Baltimore had a bye this past week. They can rest up. And right now, the Baltimore Ravens are favored by 9.5. Brandon, do the Texans have a chance here or no?
Absolutely. I would not be surprised if the Texans won this game. I think it's going to be extremely hard, and I'm actually taking Baltimore in this game. But that 9.5 spread is outrageous to me. I mean, I am hammering 9.5 for the Texans. They looked like a complete team. They looked like a complete team when they played the Browns. Granted, we didn't have our best day on defense, but I mean, CJ Stroud is dropping dimes. He's, not throwing any interceptions. If CJ Stroud plays the way he played against Cleveland, I don't know why this game would be a blowout. I would have no idea. Maybe Vegas knows something that I don't, but I am definitely taking the Baltimore Ravens to win the game overall. But I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think, and a lot closer than the spread is concerned with. Um, it could be a good and a bad thing that Baltimore's coming off of a bye. I don't know exactly how that's going to affect them. We could see maybe they start off slow. Maybe they're all rested up and they start off hot. I'm not too sure. We'll have to wait and see for the game to find out. But I got Baltimore winning, but I do have the Texans plus 9.5. And I got a final score prediction for you. I know you like those.
Love
I'm
them.
going 34-31. The Baltimore Ravens. Justin Tucker hits a game-winning field goal.
Brandon, Anthony as well. Whenever we go to you, if you guys have a player prop or anything you want to throw out for the game, let me know. Brandon, do you have anything for this game or no?
I do have a player prop, but I have it in a 4-leg parlay with each 4 games, so I'll save it for
Let's
the end.
yeah, let's save that for the end then. Um, I just want to say this before I turn to you, Anthony. Lamar Jackson, okay? Like I said last week, he is 1-3 in the playoffs. He has thrown 3 touchdowns. He has thrown 5 interceptions. Let me read you his quarterback ratings in the last 4 playoff games: 78.8, 63.2, 74.8, 61.5. No bueno. That's not good at all. Right now, Lamar, I will say this: Lamar Jackson as a 7.5 or more favorite in the game. The Ravens are 1-8 against the spread. So I
Wow.
will be taking the Houston Texans plus 9.5 as well, just like Brandon. But I will say this: Baltimore this season has averaged 34.6 points at home, not counting the last week when they played the Steelers and they had some of their backups in. So I will be taking Baltimore to win the game. I will be taking Houston at plus 9.5. I think they do keep it close. I like what CJ Stroud's doing. I have the Ravens winning 28-24. We didn't hit the 28-24 last week. Let's see what happens this week. Anthony, what do you think about this game?
I gotta agree with you guys. Those are great takes. I think Lamar Jackson right now, is he the front runner for MVP?
He is,
I'm pretty sure he
as of
is.
now. As of now,
And
yes.
I think the last couple seasons, he's learned from every single one of them coming into this season. He's shown it beginning to end here. And I think you mentioned it at the beginning, why I'm wearing a Browns jersey if the Browns are out of the playoffs. We got, you guys know, number 13 played on the Browns a couple
Reaching
seasons
back, let's
ago.
1-3.
Odell Beckham Jr., still my favorite player in the league. I love OBJ, and I love the depth he brings to the Ravens. And this is my player prop for this game: OBJ for 50 receiving yards. So lock that in. Absolutely. I think Lamar's gonna tear up that Houston defense. He's gonna be able to do what Joe Flacco couldn't. He's gonna cause a lot of problems with his dual threat quarterbacking. So I'm gonna take the Baltimore Ravens at 35-24 over the Houston Texans.
We have high scoring. Anthony has them keeping up with that average of 34.6 at home this season. So we'll see if they can do it against the Texans. Next game, we have the Packers traveling to the 49ers. The 49ers are coming off a 2-week break. They got some of their guys getting healthy. Anthony, what do you think about this game? Do you think the Packers can put up as many points as they did against the Cowboys last week? Or do you think the 49ers defense is going to be able to hold them off?
I think the 49ers defense is going to hold them off. They're elite. They're rested up. They're ready to go. And I think that defense is going to feed into the offensive powerhouse that the 49ers have. And it's just going to ping pong back and forth. I don't think the Packers are going to keep up. Jordan Love's going to try, but I mean, the team's just not as well built as the 49ers. So definitely taking the 49ers. I think it's going to be a little bit more of a blowout than any of the other games are going to be. I'm going to take 49ers at 37-17.
37-17. Okay, everybody write that one down and lock it in. That is a lock for Anthony. Brandon, what do you think about this game? Do you think the Packers have a chance against the 49ers or no?
Yeah, like I said earlier during my Cleveland Browns rant last week, I think the 49ers are going to the Super Bowl one way or another. I've been big on Brock Purdy. He's in my dynasty league and one of my fantasy leagues. And, regardless of Brock Purdy, you got Christian McCaffrey, you got Debo, you got Brandon Ayuk, you got George Kittle. I mean, you got a great defense. I think the 49ers are built for a Super Bowl run. I do like the Packers. I think they will cover the 9.5 spread. I am taking the Packers at 9.5, but I'm taking the 49ers to win the game. I got it looking 24-32, just making that spread.
Okay, Roger that. I'm going to disagree with you on that one. I'm going to have the 49ers covering minus 9.5 against the Packers. I think the Packers went on one heck of a run, but I think the 49ers are going to be too much to handle. The 49ers like to attack the middle of the field, and that is where the Packers are weak. So I have the 49ers winning the game 31-17. And this is where I did have some player props for this game because there are 3 things that I really like in this game. And I'm going to tell you what those are right now. George Kittle, over 53.5 receiving yards. The Packers are the second worst team allowing yards per reception against tight ends. Over the last out of the last 5 games, 4 of the 5, Kittle has gone over 53.5. Okay, so that's my one, Kittle over 53.5. The other one I have is Christian McCaffrey over 89.5 yards rushing. In the last 8 games, he hit this 6 times. And the one time he didn't hit it was because he left with an injury. Okay, he's had 2 weeks to get healthy. I see Christian McCaffrey going over 89.5 in this game. The last thing in this game, I like Jordan Love over 246.5 passing yards. The 49ers have allowed the 3rd most completions to quarterbacks this season, and Jordan Love in the last 10 games has thrown for 255 or more 8 times. That's 80% of the time he's hitting 255 or more, and that line is set at 246.5. And the other thing with that pick, 8 of the last 11 quarterbacks who play the 49ers have hit their over. So I really like Jordan Love in this situation. If you take those 3 together, the odds are plus 524. So $10 wins you $52.49. So I really like those ones for the 49ers and the Packers game. Moving on, we have the Bucks and the Lions. Brandon, how do you have this one going?
This one is probably this is my second favorite watch of the week. I'm really excited to watch this one. As I stated earlier, love Baker Mayfield, love what the Bucks are doing. Also love the Lions and what they're doing with Dan Campbell. Ultimately, I think the Lions are going to be too much for the Bucks here. I'm taking the Lions. It's tough. Baker's balling out. I was just ranting about how he's the one, but the Lions are just playing on a different level right now with Dan Campbell. They want it more. I'm taking the Lions -6.5. I think their Lions are going to cover, and I'm thinking it's going to be 17-32 with the Lions.
Wow, a little bit of a blowout there.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I have the Lions winning at home again as well. I have them winning the game 23-17. Dan Campbell, after the game, told Jared Goff, he said, Jared Goff, you are enough for Detroit. And I think that is accurate. I think Jared Goff leads the Lions to the NFC Championship game here. Anthony, what do you think? Do you think the Lions advance or do you think not?
This one's going to be a toss-up, especially after the week that the Bucs just had. And I mean, the Lions played well. I think the Bucs played better. So going up against each other, I think it's going to be a little bit back and forth, but I think it's going to come down to a lot of field goals. I'm going to be honest. Might have a couple touchdowns in there, but I'm going to keep the Lions winning. That's for sure, especially since it's in Detroit. And I'm going to go 27-21.
27-21. I tell you what, we're through 3 games right now and we all have the same teams winning. Will that continue, Anthony, as we go toward the Kansas City Chiefs going into Buffalo to play the Bills? Right now, the Chiefs are traveling and the Bills are favored by 2.5. How do you see this game going? Will we go 4-0 as a team here picking? Or how do you see this one going?
Oh, Mike, I hate the Bills. I'm going to be honest. Josh Allen's a funny guy. I hate the Bills. I think this is a week that they're going to implode after their little hot streak here. I think Stephon Diggs is going to get mad. He's not getting the ball. It's going to cause some turmoil in the locker room. And I'm taking the Chiefs. I can't bet against my boy Patty. And I actually have a little parlay lined up for this guy right here.
Hit me with it.
So we got a 5-leg plus 1,718.
Oh, that pays the bills.
It sure does. We got Pat Mahomes, 250 passing yards.
Okay.
Dalton Kincaid, 50 receiving. Travis Kelce, 60 receiving. Stephon Diggs, 5 receptions. And Isaiah Pacheco, anytime touchdown scorer. So, oh man, I'm excited for this game. This is going to be my watch this weekend for sure. I think the Chiefs pull together like they have over the past couple years in the playoffs, and they take down the Bills at home. I'm going to give it, I think I'm going to do 30-27. I think I'm going to keep it close.
32-27. That is close, but that would cover for the Chiefs because you have them winning. So thank you for the player props there, Anthony. I'm definitely going to have to look into that one, maybe chew on it a little bit, as Brandon likes to say. Speaking of what Brandon likes to say, Brandon, what do you have to say on the subjects? Are we going with Chiefs or are we going with the Bills?
Yeah, it's tough. I agree with everything Anthony said. The Chiefs are playing great and the Bills are spotty at times. You never really know what you're getting with them. Some weeks they're hot, like when they're playing the Steelers, and other weeks Josh Allen's throwing 4 interceptions. Patrick Mahomes is one helmet or the next helmet, doesn't matter. The man's elite. He's great. But give me the Bills Mafia. Bills Mafia. Bills, Bills, Josh Allen, over 250 passing yards. Stephon Diggs, touchdown. That's not even a part. I just thought of that. I didn't even have that written down. I just thought of it right now. Like, the Bills are elite. I've been saying it for weeks. I love Josh Allen. I love what the Bills are doing. If they were the Browns, I'd love them. But they're not the Browns. They're the Bills. So I just have a mutual respect for them. I think the Bills have just been playing outstanding. They're at home, which is only going to help them. Josh Allen's heated from that overtime loss, when Patty Mahomes had 14 seconds left and threw it to Travis Kelce, kicked the field goal, went in overtime, and then threw it to Kelce for the touchdown to win it. Josh Allen didn't forget. And if y'all don't remember, he didn't have a chance to touch the ball that game in overtime, that is. In overtime, he never had a chance. And that's eating him alive, just like how, it's just eating him alive. I can't think of a good analogy right now, but it's eating him alive. I can promise you that. So I'm taking the Bills. I'm taking them covering the 2.5, but just by a hair. I'm taking them 34-37.
Wow. Okay. Well, I knew as soon as you started that sentence, just knowing you, that you were going to throw a curveball in there. So
Got to. I got to keep the
am,
viewers at home on their toes.
well, let me tell you this then. This will keep you on your toes. Patrick Mahomes as a underdog in the regular season in his career against the spread. Okay. 7 wins, 1 loss, and 1 tie. Pretty darn good. In the postseason, he's 1-0. And when was he the dog? The Super Bowl, and he won that game. But 7-1-1. That means he has 1 loss. And who was that loss to?
Who was it to, Mike?
The Buffalo Bills,
Buffalo
24-20. I will be taking the Bills. I think they win the game. I have the Bills winning 27-24. I think they are the team in the AFC. I love what they're doing. I think Josh Allen has it on his mind that he can't beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. Hey, this weekend we'll see. So, man, I tell you what, we're pretty good. Everybody, pretty good with our picks there, pretty consistent. Is there any other player props maybe that anyone forgot to mention or anything? I know, Brandon, you said you had one that seemed like
Yeah,
it
I got one.
1 per game. How about you?
Yeah, I got one per game. I know you shared your 3-leg. Anthony shared his 5-leg. It
Yep.
just feels right that I got a 4-leg. We got
Well,
a
let's
3-leg,
do
a
it.
4-leg, a 5-leg. We got everything here on Mike Drops the Mic. So this is what I got, starting with the Houston Texans game. I have Zay Flowers going for over 49.5 yards. Man, shifty. He can get it done. I also do not hate the OBJ pick that Anthony had. I was actually between Zay and OBJ. I think OBJ's over is at like 33.5. I was really looking at that, but I'm taking Zay Flowers over 49.5 yards. Next game for the 49ers, I'm taking Deebo Samuel for over 58.5 yards. I think they're rested up. I think Brock Purdy's going to be slinging it, and I think Deebo's going to get a lot of that attention. Next, we got the Lions and the Bucks. I'm taking Jared Goff over 1.5 passing touchdowns. I think he's ready for it. I don't think it hit last week. I can't remember. I think they ran it twice, one with Jameer and one with David Montgomery. But they were in the red zone inside the 5. It's expected. I'm taking Jared Goff over 1.5 passing touchdowns. And the Kansas City game, give me Josh Allen over 227. Who's setting these lines, really? I mean, give me their job. 227, are you out of your mind? If Josh Allen's throwing for 227, I'll tell you that. And you could lock it. You could put it in the bank and lock it. Now, all of that 4-leg considered is going to be a plus 950 odds with a measly $25 leading you to a payday of $262.38.
Brandon, I love it. I really do like that. The Josh Allen passing yards. That's insane. Is that what the over under is? Yeah, over under 227.5.
Yep. Well, I'm in Florida, so it might be different in different states,
Well,
but on the
I'm
Hard
looking at
Rock
the
app,
FanDuel. I'm looking at the FanDuel right now.
FanDuel,
We
it's the same
can't do
thing.
FanDuel in Florida. We look at FanDuel for all of our odds because it is that in DraftKings, it is the standard.
We can do
So
FanDuel in Florida. Is that what you said?
no, I said we can't do it, even though we can't do it
Okay.
in Florida. We still look at those odds because it is the standard.
I
We're a
got you.
picks community down here.
Yeah,
But
we do what we can.
I will say this, Josh Allen, 227.5. Brandon, is that a situation where, I mean, if you bump that up, I'm looking now, if you bump that up to Josh Allen, 250 plus, the odds on that alone are plus 162. Josh Allen, 275 plus 290. If Josh Allen has a 300-yard game, plus 550. Is that something you look to juice up a little bit or no?
I'm telling you what, Mike, you're making my pants tighter just talking about it. That's exactly what I'm thinking. I'm thinking I tease this up. I'm thinking Josh Allen got to go for at least 280. That's what I think he throws for at least 280, maybe 3 touchdowns, runs one in. That's what I'm thinking with Josh Allen. But to keep it safe with the 4 leg, I'm going to keep it at the 227. However, putting an additional unit on Josh Allen hitting his over of, let's say, 275. You said the odds of that are in the hunt. I think you said 2 something, or is that for 3?
Plus 290, but I'll tell you this right now, Brandon. You put in that Josh Allen 275 plus, and you parlay that with Josh Allen to throw over 1.5 touchdowns. You get that in at plus 356. So
That might be the lock of the week for that might be the lock of the week for Brandon.
Well, this is what I'm coming to right now. I'm going to give you some time to chew on it, but we got to make the peak Degen bankroll bet. Is that what this is? The bankroll bet, huh?
I like it.
Each of us are picking 1 leg across any of the games that we're going to put together and parlay, and we're going to ride or die with it. So, Brandon, I'm going to give you a second to reflect on what you want to do. Anthony, do you want to start us off? How we making our money this weekend? What's your pick?
I'm gonna stick with the OBJ pick, Mike. I got OBJ over 50 yards. I think, like I said, I think he adds extreme depth to that Ravens receiving core. He's a great complement to Zay Flowers, and he can do it in a single strike. So that's where I'm sitting.
You have OBJ at 50 yards. Anthony, I do want to ask you this. Do you know what the odds are for OBJ over 50 yards off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, no, but I can get it right here.
I'll tell you this right now. I want you to
182.
Yeah, 182. I'm plus 182 for 50 yards. I will tell you this, though. If you just want to take the over on the yards, just something to think about, it's at over 33.5 yards. The odds on that are minus 114. Anthony, are we sticking with over 50 yards? Are we going it down to 40? We going to 33.5? Or are you that confident in your Odell Beckham Jr. jersey that he will go for over 50 yards? What are you thinking?
I'm standing by him. 50 yards plus for OBJ.
Hey, you could have chosen safe or you could have chosen risky. You chose to do risky. And with that, that's plus 182. So now I'm going to tell you this. I gave some picks for the 49ers and the Packers game. I'm going to go with one of those picks. I'm going with the Christian McCaffrey over 89.5 rushing yards. Like I said, in the last 8 games, he hit this 6 times. The one time he didn't was because of injury and he left. He's had 2 weeks to get rested. Give me Christian McCaffrey over 89.5 rushing yards. That will be my pick. Brandon, close us off here. What are we thinking? How's this peak Degens bankroll bet gonna close? What do you have?
I got Josh Allen throwing for over 1.5 touchdowns. I think it's a no-brainer. I'm going with that, and I'm sticking to it.
Over one.
All right, we're making a donation to Vegas this year. All right.
Anthony, you don't agree with that call? What do you think? What's going on? You don't think he can get it done?
Josh Allen, for whatever reason, likes to tuck the ball and run. So we'll see. I mean, he can throw one, but 2, I don't know. I don't know if the Chiefs let that happen.
I tell you one thing, Steelers let it happen, and the Steelers let him run the ball. So he's at home. Let's see what happens. While you guys were talking, I was putting together our picks into a parlay. 3-leg parlay again. Anthony's Odell Beckham Jr., 50 receiving yards or more. My pick, Christian McCaffrey, over 89.5 rushing yards. Brandon's pick, Josh Allen, over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Combine those together, the odds are plus 928. $25 wins you $232.19. As Brandon likes to say, a measly $25, $232.19. Hey, we're gonna go with it. We're gonna go with it.
I like it.
We're gonna go with it and hope for the best. We got an exciting weekend of football coming up. We got our picks in, we got our bets in. Anthony, any closing remarks here on this Mike Drops the Mic Peak Degens Playoff Predictions Episode 2? Anything you want to close out with?
No, Mike, I think we're all good. I'm excited for this week, and we'll come back next week better than ever, ready for the playoff championships.
Brandon, you got a closing message for all the viewers across the world?
You know I always do. I got a Brandon's Bankroll Special Edition New Year's Eve, New Year's 2024. Valentine's Day is coming up. Whatever day you want to celebrate, this is what we're going to celebrate with. And it's stuff I already stated. We're talking strictly spreads. This is a kind of bankroll episode where you're just sitting on the couch, having a couple land sharks, not really caring about anything. And you're not looking to see who's scoring touchdowns. You're not looking to count yards. You're looking to see the final score of the game. With that being said, I got the Houston Texans plus 9.5, the Packers plus 9.5, the Lions minus 6.5, and the Bills minus 2.5. Those combine to a staggering plus 1,201, leading your $25 bet into $325.21.
Brandon, thank you for the message there at the end. For anybody not watching the games, but like you said, just looking for results, that could be the way to go. I will say this, though. If you're not big on the spreads, you can always do the money lines. I know the Ravens are minus 500, the 49ers are minus 450. Everyone's saying yuck, and perhaps that is the case. But if you do take the money lines and you combine them all, with the picks that I had and with Brandon had, Anthony differed on that last one. But if you take Ravens money line, 49ers money line, Lions money line, Buffalo Bills money line, that gives you plus 230, a safer bet. $25 wins you 57.72. Hey, doesn't have to be $25 though. You can put 1,000 on it and see what kind of results you get. Or if you want to take a chance, go with Brandon's big old special edition spread there. So again, thank you guys, whoever's listening, and thank you guys for coming together and joining me on this Peak Degens playoff picture 2. Today we came in with our chins up. Let's hope we can do the same next week. Cheers, boys.
Absolutely. We'll see you, boys.